So I'm Senka. I'm an assistant professor here at the International Relations Department of the University of Groningen, and I'm based in European Studies. And all of my research is more or less linked to the concept and processes of Europeanization. But then, let's say, from not from the location of Brussels and the European Union, but I'm trying to study Europeanization from the location of Southeast Europe. And current work is looking into how, through the construction of two roads, motorways, one in Serbia and Kosovo and the other one in Bosnia, how these roads are actually contesting or questioning differences between what post-socialist means, what socialist means, and what European context means. So this idea that Southeast Europe is moving from socialism to post-socialism to Europeanization, how actually it collapses through this road. So just in practical terms, the project looks, for instance, how some of the project planning that was outlined during socialist Yugoslavia is actually reworked and repaired and implemented through European funding. So that's how it looks in practice. So that's one project. And the other project looks into how European regulation and standards are actually changing understandings of citizenship and work, in the shipyard factories in the context of Southeast Europe, predominantly in Paula and Rijeka. So these are two cities in Croatia that have had strong shipyard industry. Not so much anymore. There is a clear message that I was trying to articulate through the article, and that is that the idea of European integration or European crisis is actually a very privileged position that makes certain experiences visible while silencing others. And through this research, I try to actually contest what European disintegration means when we look at it from the location of Bosnia and Herzegovina and from these protests. I think that the article itself has sparked very different discussions, and different people took different things out of it. So that's also very interesting in terms of what we try to put into the public sphere and what is then received. There have been some very interesting discussions that we had around it in terms of the relationship between the construction of citizenship and violence that came out of the article. Another one was, for instance, the whole pointlessness of discussing something in terms of disintegration or integration, or whether we need a different terminology for that. And the third one, which I think was also very interesting, was how sort of the Europeanization process, it becomes untangled within some other processes that are not often placed in relation to it, which became very visible through the protests themselves and things that the protests were reacting to. Yeah. So the first one is that European studies, and then particularly the positioning of European studies in international relations, that it is EU Brussels focused, and that it will immediately lead to a career in one of the European institutions. So certainly European studies are Europe focused, and there is a sort of European centricity in terms of where we put the spotlight, but also in terms of how has it been done and how it is done. But at the same time, with training in the field of European studies, there is many other things besides becoming a part of the Brussels machinery that one can do. But I think that's the first conception or misconception. The second, I think, misconception is that you have to be a white male and wear a suit in order to be able to do it. I think I don't need to explain that one. That's quite an obvious one. And then a third one is that European studies are only for political scientists, and that's it. And I think that the kind of work that we do here at Groningen, well, is a good proof that that's not true. Yeah, I will give you an anecdotal answer. There is this story that during the siege of Sarajevo, whenever, or in the aftermath of it, whenever a foreign journalist would come to Bosnia, if they would stay a week, they would write an article about how to achieve peace and reconciliation in the region. If they would stay a month, then they would write a book. And then if they would stay a year, they wouldn't write anything. So that's also my answer to this question, that it's very complex. And that, however, with this being said, and without writing an article or a book, what we can say is that the European project, and not necessarily the European project, but the idea of Europe, is a very important force in the Balkans, but it's not necessarily the Brussels-based idea of Europe. The commitment to European integration in all sorts of different forms and ways of doing it is necessary, both from Brussels, but also from Southeast Europe. So we should not abandon it.